On behalf of my mom, brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, my family, we want to thank you all for coming out today to pay tribute to a man that Kathy kept referring to as Wayne, which some of you know him as. Some of you know him as Skip. A lucky few of us know him as Dad. And a few more lucky ones know him as Papa. The theme you're going to hear from me today about my dad is family, because family meant everything to our dad. And family starts with the love of his life, our mom. As Kathy said, anytime you ever asked either my mom or dad when they met, they had the same answer for years. Fourth grade. Fourth grade. That's all you ever heard. Fourth grade. Which by my calculations would be 1943. 67 years. Amazing story. In this day and age especially. 67 years together. Just a little bit of time apart there when Grandma and Grandpa moved back to New York State, where he graduated from high school, and then when he went into the Air Force and served in Korea. I don't remember very many stories about Korea because Dad didn't talk a lot about himself very much. The one thing I remember about Korea was the most disgusting thing over there was the kimchi. If you don't know what kimchi is, it's a Korean dish of pickled cabbage that they bury in a pot in the ground to ferment with a stench like you've never experienced in your life. I don't think he ever ate cabbage once he came back from Asia after that. But other than that, his service in Korea, didn't hear too much about because, again, Dad's not the kind of guy to really talk about himself too much. April 7th, 1956, the day that they made it all official and walked the aisle in Manchester. So, 54 years. We were lucky enough to all be together in 2006 for their 50th over at Grassmere. It was a great day. And every day since then has been a great day. In short order, David, Susan, Stephen, back to back to back, 58, 59, and 60. I guess he did have 2 full-time jobs, as you said. In the middle of that, starting at Hartford Hospital, 1959, where he proudly stayed 35 years. Again, how committed are people nowadays? Nobody stays in one place for 35 years like that, but he did. And worked a second job as well to do everything that he could for his family. Right up until 1994, when he did retire, and our thanks to Jack Alberti and Mike Smith, colleagues from Hartford Hospital, that threw that golf tournament in his honor and continued it. Actually, we didn't have it this year, but we had it for 16 years in a row, the Wayne Jensen Open. Now, normally a golf tournament is named after somebody as a memorial. What a tribute to what a man that my dad was, that while he was still very much alive, very much active, and very much still playing well at that time, to have a tournament named in his honor. It's a very rare feat, and that's really a tribute to the great guy that he was. They did not have the tournament this year, but those 2 gentlemen and my dad and I got to play together at one of Dad's favorite courses up at the Ledges in South Hadley as a foursome. So in lieu of the WJO, we got to get out there. So we were very, very privileged for those 2 gentlemen over there for all the work they did for 16 years putting that event together. After about a 5-year break, me, and then very shortly after, Patty came along. So yeah, like Kathy said, 5 of us. 5 kids. But yet somehow, me with only having 2, he had 3 times as much hair as me right up until the end, and I don't know how. And with the 5 of us, I think it's safe to say things weren't always totally rosy. Probably had good reason to pull his hair out on occasion, but never did. In fact, in the quiet way that he had of doing everything, he always had a way to zing us when we would be talking about the latest transgression that one of us had done that probably would cause anybody else to pull their hair out. He wouldn't say anything, but what he would do if we were sitting around the dining room table and he was hearing the latest escapade of one of us, and yes, many times it was me, myself, he would do this. Without saying a word, we all knew what that meant. I wish 5 on all of you. Patty came closest with 4, and she knows exactly what he meant. My dad did a lot of great things, but never talked about them hardly ever, because again, that's not the kind of guy that he is. Golfing, of course, was his passion. Absolutely look forward to every Thursday since he's retired to get together with the guys. And many of them came yesterday, and it was so great to see them, and they all have wonderful things to say about Dad. Complained a lot in the last couple of years because his game wasn't quite up to par, but you know what? At 76, still being out there hitting the ball with everything he's been through in the last 13 years, pretty impressive for him. Yeah, you know, he doesn't break 90 anymore, but you know what? Most people never did. So being out there every week meant a lot to him. Bowling. Duck pin bowling, if you're not familiar with it, with a really small ball, a little bit bigger than your hand, and these little short, fat pins, kind of look like a shorter version of me. Very, very difficult game, and it's a game that's kind of disappearing. It's popular in Maryland and up here. But Dad, in duck pin bowling, what was mentioned in the newspaper article, he set the Connecticut state record back in 1981 with a 246 game, including 7 strikes in a row, which is almost unfathomable in that type of a game. The record lasted a few years before somebody broke it. And after that, he got, I think there was 3 or 4 different plaques from various organizations in recognition of that feat, the National Congress and the Connecticut State and all that kind of stuff. But you never know it, because I don't remember them ever being in the house displayed. They're probably in the bottom of a closet somewhere or in a box in the garage or something. And the reason that he never showed things like that was because if he was to put those up, that would mean he'd have less room to put up a picture of his kids or of his grandchildren, of the things that really, really matter to Dad. So that's why you never saw that. You know, there's many people that would probably have their office or something with their awards, not him. Wonder, do you even know where those are? I don't think so. No. Probably in the garage. Yeah, you see, you're probably right. Probably haven't been looked at in years, because as great as an accomplishment as it was, the accomplishments of his family is what meant more to our dad. The type of dad he was is kind of a throwback to the old days. I remember he was one of the founding fathers of the Enfield Hockey Association in 1970, when my brothers Dave and Steve were playing then, and the organization was just getting started. And the very first game of the Enfield Hockey Association was at an outdoor rink in West Suffield on Mountain Road. There was just 4 light poles, no roof, no anything, and my dad and Bob Hughes and Al Gatto and, Ben Peralt and the guys that were the first fathers of that went out with shovels to shovel off the ice. And why did they do that? Because if they didn't do it, the kids wouldn't be able to play. So that's what they did. It was a real throwback era when people like my dad did things for the kids, not for selfish reasons, but because whatever the kids need, that's what they do. That's an example that all of us should follow. Hockey, I don't think the man ever laced up skates in his life. I don't know if any of you guys, did Dad ever skate at all? I don't know. He had some skates? Did he ever use them? We don't know. Probably not very often. But hockey became instilled in him through, first of all, again, my 2 brothers, both standout players. Later on, his first grandson, Jonathan, played hockey for Fermi, following in their footsteps. And Dad would go to every game, or at least as many as he could. Why? Because his grandson was playing, and it was important to him. And if it was important to him, it was important to Dad. And then when he graduated, his granddaughter Jackie was team manager for Fermi. And he went to every game to watch her fill water bottles. Why is that? Because it was important to her. And if it was important to her, it was important to him. And up until the end of last season, he was still going to Fermi hockey games, because I am Fermi's public address announcer for home games. Anybody that would fork out $5 to listen to me talk, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. But he did it. And you know why he did it? because it was important to me, so it was important to him. I know you keep hearing me say the same thing over and over again, but it's true. If it was important to his family, it was important to him. The grandkids, apple of his eye, every one of them. As he was there as many times as possible at their games, at their school plays. Some of these things, I'll give you an example. 4-year-old soccer, team sports at its crudest. Not the most exciting thing to watch. But if Erica or Mia or somebody had a game, when it was possible, he was there. Why? Because it was important to them, so it was important to him. Every one of his grandkids, he did everything that he could. Even up until a couple of months ago, 40-degree weather for fall league baseball games at night. And he was there. Even feeling as bad as he was there. And why? Because Ben and Cole and Alex were all playing, and it was important to them. So it was important to him. I won't repeat myself anymore, except to say one thing. My brothers and sisters and I were very lucky and more fortunate than most people for one reason. Because whereas all of us have a father, we had a dad.